Verkne. Halebe mer verkne. Aleppo is our song. It was our song. It has been our song. Aleppo is our harvest. We have harvested a lot, and a lot of those fruits are among us today and are scattered all over the world. But Aleppo is in pain, is our pain today. And we all feel that pain. And that's why we are here. Not only we want to share the news of Aleppo, but we have been sharing the remedy and the help that we can get there. The compassionate hearts and caring hearts are always interested in seeing that what we can do about that pain in Aleppo. We have been, of course, enjoying the presence of Reverend Selimian for some time now on the West Coast. Reverend Selimian was the guest to the AMAA annual meeting and annual banquet in San Francisco. And he got there after a very, very difficult delivery, painful delivery. I should say that after several times of failed attempts of getting a visa, finally Reverend Selimian was able to get a visa, and we are so happy that he was able to make it to the AMAA annual meeting and banquet. After San Francisco, we went to Los Angeles. We had a public gathering in Los Angeles. And after Los Angeles, we had also had an opportunity to go to Fresno and had a public gathering there. And I'd like to tell you that everywhere we went, Reverend Selimian was welcomed with a warm heart and caring and compassionate heart. Now it's this, of course, the turn of the East Coast to enjoy him. What I would have liked to do is, of course, have Reverend Selimian meet the East Coast public, the larger public on the East Coast. But unfortunately, because of the strains and the pressure that we had, because of the AMAA meetings and banquet and all the programs on the West Coast and the shorter time that he had to spend on the East Coast, we thought of this gathering. And I am confident that there are many, many dozens and hundreds of people out there who would have liked to meet him. But we're glad you are here. You are a representative of this community. We certainly appreciate your being here. And I think, and I can depend on you in saying that you can pass the message, and you can certainly talk about it to the community and your friends. I would like to share a few facts about the whole situation that we are in, and then certainly you're waiting for Reverend Selimian to give his message. We'll get there. Number one, the Syrian crisis is in its fourth year, and I would like, I know you know that there are hundreds of millions of dollars of aid that is pouring into Syria or to the Syrian refugees from the United Nations, from the United States, and other nations around the world. None of that aid gets to the Syrian Armenians for one very simple reason. All the aid that the United Nations and all the other nations are distributing and sharing goes to the refugee camps. And there are no Armenians in refugee camps. There is not a single Armenian refugee camps in Turkey, in Lebanon, or in Jordan. Correct. Armenians choose a different life. They do not want to go to refugee camps. They are gathered in sardine-like apartment in Beirut, or they are really feeling the pain in Armenia, or certainly they are in the bullseye in Syria, and especially in Aleppo, Syria, but they are not in refugee camps. And that's why we have to do our share in helping them. Number two, what we do and what everybody else should do is this is part of the commission of the Armenian Missionary Association of America, the commission that God has given us and that we undertake. For 97 years, the AMA has been taking the good news of the gospel all around the world and distributing it to all people. But the AMA does not take the gospel and the good news alone. The AMA takes with it a drink to the thirsty, some food to the hungry, a shelter to those who have lost their homes. The AMA takes a concrete, tangible help and aid together with the good news of the gospel. Number 3, Syria. Why is Syria important? And why is the Syrian Armenians important? Most of you know that Syrian Armenians, the Syrian Armenian community is called the Mother Armenian Diaspora Community, because that's where the diaspora sprung from, because that's where the survivors of the genocide took refuge, and from there on, like an airline hub, as you see the maps on airline newspapers, Armenians started going out to all the diaspora and spreading all over. And that's part of the harvest of Syrian Armenians who have gone all over the world in various roles and in various segments of community life. So Syrian Armenians are important because the Near East Armenians have been a spring, a fountain of good to the Armenian diaspora. And one more thing about Syria and the Syrian Armenians. Syria in itself is an open museum of the genocide that was committed against the Armenians. If Armenians are taken out of that formula, Turkey will be extremely happy. There will not be much more to prove what happened to the Armenians who came, those who survived, who walked to Aleppo, who walked into the deserts of Syria, into Deir Zor, survived, thrived, built, and had a renaissance in Syria. And the Deir Zor sands and the Aleppo churches, schools, everything that is there physically is an open museum, which is one of the most important segments of our the proof of the genocide and those who survived the genocide. So that's why it is very important, and because it is the nearest and closest community to the lost Armenian lands and the Armenian homeland. That's why it is important to keep that community and that diaspora community, if not intact, because it will never be intact, but at least livable, to thrive and continue its role and its motion into the future. And finally, even though we all are here to honor this man, who is a shepherd and who is a leader in Syria, not only is a leader of the Armenian evangelical community, but he is a leader of Armenian community as a whole. He is one of the most courageous, compassionate, caring, vigilant, active leaders in Syria. But what he represents to us are the Syrian Armenians. We look at him and we see the Syrian Armenians. When we honor him and revere him, is because we honor and revere the Syrian Armenians. Those who have been passing through hell during the past 4 years. Those who were forced for a second time in a century to leave their homes and get out of their nests. So that's why it is important to remember that when we look and when we listen, we are listening and hearing the sound, the echo of the Syrian Armenians, wherever they are, whether they are still in Aleppo or they are in Armenia or in Lebanon or elsewhere in the world. Reverend Selimian is one of the children of Aleppo, Syria, born in Aleppo, Syria. He has been educated in Aleppo, and then after graduation he has graduated from the nearest school of theology in Lebanon, He has been in the States at McCormick University in Chicago, where he has received his master's degree. And without going into much detail, he has been the pastor of the Petel Armenian Evangelical Church in Aleppo, and also he has been the president of the Armenian Protestant, as the community is called in Syria, of Syria, of course. So, without due delay, and because I know you want to listen to him, I'm pleased and happy and honored to present to you Reverend Harutun Selimian.